there are, in Christian circles, different translations of the Bible. And they all go back to whatever text. But can you help us navigate the world of how do I pick a translation that works for me?
Right. I get asked this question a lot, and I think that people are wanting to have a good translation, and sometimes there's a question about like which is the best one. I think it's helpful for us to realize that anytime we're reading the Bible in English, like it is a translation. We can't read it in the original language. And actually, the New Testament, when the writers wrote about Jesus, they were already translating what he said from Hebrew into Greek. So we don't have the original words of Jesus even in the Bible, and that's okay. It was more important for us to communicate what Jesus was saying in a language that people would understand. That's the whole idea behind a translation. And it's really common with a lot of books. So my husband loves literature, and he loves reading the Odyssey, which was another ancient Greek text. There are about 60 translations of that. So it's really common to have all these different translations. And it's because there's a different focus for different ways of translating. Some people want to translate word for word, as close to word for word as possible from one language to another, so they're really getting the original thing, words that were used. And that can be helpful, and we have some Bible translations that do that. The English Standard Version would be an example of that. And then other places or other translators, they want to go for how do we capture the idea in the original language and translate that into a language that we would understand the idea in English. And so that would be kind of a thought for thought way of translating. And I would say the New Living Translation would be a really good example of that. And then a lot of translators try to go the middle ground. So we have all these different translations. There are also some ways of translating the Bible that are called a paraphrase. And that's usually done by a single author who really wants to bring to life even the poetry, the creativity of the original text. And so they don't try to go word for word. In terms of choosing the best one, I think the best one is the one that you'll read. And so that depends a lot on who you are and what type of book you like to read. If you were starting to read the Bible for the first time, then I would say go for one of these ones that expresses thought for thought. So probably like a New Living Translation. Or here at St. Paul's on our Sunday mornings, we use the New International Version. It would get us closer to that thought for thought. It's going to help us understand the ideas. And then if you're wanting to study the Bible more, then maybe you go for more of a word-for-word translation. One of the things that can be fun or interesting, if you like to study and really get into, say, a story and try to understand what it means, is to compare a couple of translations. I think that's a really helpful way to get a different perspective on things. So I think the main thing is we don't need to get hung up on there's just one perfect translation that we're looking for, and there's one best one. It is more find the one that is going to help you be closer to Jesus.
So can I ask you, what are you drawn to?
My favorite translation is probably the New Revised Standard Version. I like it for a couple of reasons. One is that the scholars behind it really wanted to do as much as they could to capture some of the poetry in some parts of it, so they paid attention to the language there. That's tough to do in a translation. And also, as a woman, that's a translation that has gone the distance of taking uses of the word like man to represent humankind, and they'll actually say, well, this is humans. And so they will use words like brothers and sisters instead of just brothers, or humans instead of man, and that just makes it easier. There's one less barrier for me. So I really like that version. That's my go-to. How about you?
Yeah, well, anthropos, right, would be the word for man, which was always intended to be
absolutely
male and female, but maybe we lost our way. I was thinking about that because we've done a little bit of prep. When I was 12, I remember wanting to read the Bible. We would have used the RSV in my church growing up. That probably would have put me out, knocked me out. So I went and found a Living Translation. I'm so old that it was the Living Translation, not the New Living Translation.
There are a lot of new
yeah, it was just paraphrase. And it was good. It worked for me at 12.
Yeah.
And I think I read that through. I can still see it was a green covered Living Translation and worked through that. Got the gist of it captured by the stories, slogged my way through a couple of the books, and then found my eyes widening with some of these stories that I was reading.